Good afternoon. So it's Sunday. Got a little bit of break in the rain according to the radar. I'm going to be sharpening I don't know what kind of chain this is. It looks like it says hose or holes. Maybe it's a holzfforma chain. I don't know. This is one off my friend's saw, so he asked me to sharpen it, so I'm going to sharpen it up for him. I don't understand why sometimes it sticks. He must have, yeah, he derailed the chain here. That's going to be nice. To sharpen here, since the chain won't fit in the groove. Should have put it back on and ran it a little bit, cleaned off those burrs. So keep it out of that slot down there. Alright, that's about as cleaned up as we'll get. We'll see how much of this chain I can get done here with the rain. Looks like he hit something pretty good, to be honest, with this chain. I mean, I said this before and I'll say it again. If you're cutting and you know you're cutting in a risky situation where you're close to the ground or whatever, or it's dirty wood, you don't run the chain at full speed. Just kind of just bump your way through it. That's what I do, so you don't do this kind of damage here. This is pretty well damaged chain. Let me turn the light on out here so we can have power like that. So this will take a little bit because this one's pretty damaged, but we'll get him back in business. Chain to feel soft. And that's the other thing, if you're sharpening chains or if you're cutting, so you're cutting in dirty wood, you know that's why you're cutting, do yourself a favor and run one of these softer brand chains. They don't hold up as long when you're cutting hardwood. That's where you'll notice the biggest difference. And some of this looks like it was where he sharpened it, but you can see that full corner there is been taken off where it's hit something. And judging by the level of damage, I'd say the whole, I mean, he must have hit something bigger by the looks of all these corners. They're all rounded off. This chain's got some burrs on it because it also came off because he wasn't running it tight enough. That's kind of, you gotta have a wrench, a chainsaw wrench with you if you're going to be out in the woods. Your chain is likely to get loose or tight, and you're out there and you got to be able to adjust. So one thing that I did wrong here is I should have put the chain back on and ran it on the saw a little bit to clean all the burrs off. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, but it is what it is. So we'll just kind of ease our way through it. But for someone else watching this, that's what I would do. We'll just kind of inch our way around. We'll dress our stone up once we get the tooth shaped and get a good corner on there for them. Get off my pants. I would think that this is holzfforma chain, just by it looks like it says holes or something like that on it, but I don't know. It grinds pretty nice. There's that same spot again. We'll just kind of lift our way around. You could file them off, but I just put the chain on and put it on tight and then just run it. That's what I've always done. I don't really throw chains very often. And this is another thing is if you're just learning how to grind chain, there's nothing wrong with running one of these softer chains to start with, because it's easier to sharpen one of these first, because you know you don't have to be as patient. You can kind of take more material because the chain is softer, and then also it's just a little, like I said, it's just a little easier to keep the chain from getting too hot. And then you can also experiment more with the grind that works well for the type of wood you're cutting. He's got a 041 Farm Boss because his granddad bought that saw new. This is a 25-inch chain, or 24, same thing. Doesn't really want to sit in the groove all the way. That's okay. Well, I won't make that mistake again when I see the chain has been thrown. I don't know. I don't really have that problem. I don't throw chains like this where it wrecks all your... And if I do, I just put it right back on, like I said, and run it. So now we're getting... So let's dress it up. My wheel's pretty gone. Oh yeah. We'll go around twice now. That's an aggressive pass. I might just bump it up a little bit. It's always good to inspect every couple teeth. Definitely got a different sound than the Stihl chain. The wheel's staying pretty clean. And I could take it back more, but I don't think he's that concerned with how sharp that it is. Or, well, making it cut super fast. So I think I'm just going to switch over to the other side here and clean this other side up too. It looks like it's been sharpened, but you really don't want that beak like that, because that beak right there, it just makes the point more brittle, in my opinion. So we'll see how close we are. So I'm gonna take my thing, I'm gonna turn it up a little bit, do about a quarter turn. We'll start at a quarter turn and we'll bump it down a quarter turn. And I did not mark it. I think we'll start right there. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, rocks are hard on the chains. gonna get a file and file that tooth off there. I don't want to use this one. This is my ring file. You get a different file. What other ones I've got in here? It won't be that bad. We'll just use this real quick. I don't feel like looking around everywhere for it. So we'll pop the chain off right here. Probably what I should have done in the first place, but so now that looks good. Oh, it still won't quite go in. That should be good. Leave that out here, probably got more to do. So since we're taking this much off, we'll set the rakers for them at, I think the recommended 35 thousandths. Taking very little. We're kind of working our way in. Oop, went a little too far. I think the holzfforma is the only other chain that's got these holes in the drive links like Stihl does. I mean, it definitely feels harder than the organ chain, but it is not as hard as Stihl. Not bad though. I mean, for me to give a full review on this chain, I'd need to run it, see how long it holds an edge. I've already bought a bunch of chains. I bought 20 chains last month. $1 an inch, couldn't beat that deal. 4 cases of orange oil. So the 060 or 461. Too many saws on my brain. is supposed to be here this week. I'm probably gonna make a mandrel to cut the chamber, or cut the base. I already got one to cut the chamber. Make a mandrel to cut the base, and then I'll turn that same mandrel down to cut the base on the 400C. Can't really do as much on that 400C based off of the skirt length on the exhaust side of the piston. So we'll see what we can do on that one. Really good running saw right out of the box, so I'm not really trying to steer too far off of the factory numbers. I just like to give it a little more compression. Check the tube, make sure we're not getting it too hot. Now we're getting somewhere. So this chain doesn't load my wheel up nearly as bad. That's something I noticed so far. I don't know if the metal quality is more pure or what, because I definitely didn't do a good job of cleaning this chain, but that's something I like so far. Might need to get a loop of this just to try for myself. The length I run the most is a 24. It's kind of right for my height. 28 is where I don't have to bend over at all, but that length is just it's a little too long. You can't maneuver it as quick, so I like a 24 the best. That gets through pretty much everything I've got. But I'll run that 24 on a 16-inch tree. No real reason to run the 20. Unless I'm running a little smaller saw like the 400C. I like a 20 on that one. It's my case saw when it stays in the case. You can't beat that 400C. Hopefully it turns out to be a good runner when I get her done. I'm just checking to make sure we're not getting them too hot. That discoloration where it turns kind of blue is when you know you're getting them a little too hot, and then don't grind as good, and they definitely don't stay sharp as long. Just kind of inspecting here. I mean, in order to get a perfect edge on this other side, I'd need to take it back another, I don't know, millimeter or two, and I don't really want to do that because it really shortens the life of the chain, and he's probably going to hit something again, I would assume. So I mean, it's just when cutting dirtier stuff, it's just what happens. So I'm gonna just roll with it like this. This will be plenty fast for him. And yeah, I just can't justify bringing that corner all the way back. There's a lot of damage done to this right side. So we'll run in here and we will take the rakers down, throw it back on. This little project will be done. We'll take them down to 35 thousandths. Turn my light on over here so I can see. There's a new Stihl chain there. For this, I need my calipers to find something that's about 30 thousandths thick. I was going to use this depth gauge here. So that's the first thing I see. 32 thousandths. We'll go slightly, probably run it right around that. I don't know what his cutting style is and what he likes, but we'll just kind of run her to right around that. So we got her right on the edge here. Looks like we're gonna need to take the rakers down a little bit. So I'm gonna grind 2 and check it. There's that one. Let's try one more. That first one was more. Okay. Got our setting there. So we can go a teeny bit more. So we'll see what that is. That's where we'll run it, right there. Oop. Alright, we're done. I've done that a couple times, as you can see. This is what we'll do here. I mean, if I was making a cutting video, then this was my chain, I'd take it back so that I'm back to a perfect corner, but that little bit of difference is not that big. This chain will still cut good and fast. And that's all he's after, is just a good cutting chain. I don't know what the stock rakers are, but I just did them to 32. The more aggressive the raker is, the more dangerous that the chain is kind of what I think. So here it is, 041 Farm Boss. Now he said that it wasn't oiling, so I'm just gonna fire this thing up here real quick and see if it's pumping any oil, which it should. And maybe his slot here was clogged. That might have been the slot he was running on. This one here is clogged. So let's just fire it up, make sure it oils. I hope it does. I don't want to fix this. Alright, it's oiling good. Good news. Probably the bar was just clogged a little bit, would be my guess. So next step is we'll clean out this bar. Use my little saw blade here. It's a perfect little tool for this. So as I'm feeling this bar, it's got the rails are kind of rounded over. They're a little bit sharp. The reason that happens is you're running the chain too tight. And I understand the reason for some people to run the chain tighter when you're running the long bar and you're cutting little limbs. But if you're running a 25-inch or less, you can just run it just so you can't see the drive links when it's sitting. Must have been where it derailed there a little bit. Put it on like that for him. Make sure the slot is clean. Slots are clean. Old school tensioner on it. I hate these outboard clutches. They're always just a pain to get the chain in there. Kind of gotta go in here like this, I guess. Kind of work it around. Spur sprocket on this one. This saw doesn't really have a lot of time on it. Definitely considering how old that it is. Now it seems that he had the chain on here pretty loose. It was a little bit hard to get on. So we'll set the chain up how I'd set it up. So if your chain is not getting oil, first thing you want to check is your bar slot. You can do just what I did, start it up with no bar on it, and see if it's putting out any oil. Okay, good. Glad these nuts are that size. I thought they were. So since this chain is kind of messed up, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just run it pretty tight here and clean that off for him. So pretty tight, I would say. And we'll run it a little bit. We'll even probably go make a quick test cut. Why not? Got my little log over there. So not quite enough power to pull that chain and clean it up, so we'll loosen it up a little bit. Go even a little looser. Try that, see if it'll spin. Don't know how much power one of these has got. I know it's not a lot. That's surprising. The chain don't even want to move. There might be something wrong with this bar too. Man, they don't want to move at all. See if it spins loose. Just trying to get it to clean itself out a little bit.